Welcome in, everybody. This is Dynasty Mode, the unofficial EA Sports college football game podcast. Dimitri
Yeah,
Ravanos is on the other side. You're laughing at me. Why?
I just enjoyed the way you pronounced Dynasty.
Dynasty. That's right. Dynasty Mode, baby. That's right. We talk about dynasties
Indeed.
here on this show.
Can I tell you something that happened to me over the weekend?
Son of okay. Right. Wow. This is not really a personal podcast. It's much more of a,
Arky,
share
what
with
if
the
I told
masses.
you it, in a roundabout way, had something to do with you?
All right. Then I'm in.
Okay. I was in Baltimore with my wife because we like to explore places we could get murdered whenever given the chance. And I was sitting at a hotel bar. My wife wanted to take a nap after a whole weekend of,
I do know. I was there. I was watching.
Oh, all right. You're the guy we paid. So Saturday afternoon, I'm at a hotel bar. I am watching the tail end of Auburn and Missouri. And the guy sitting next to me is at this hotel for a wedding. And he says to me, and this is like perfect guys getting to know each other at a bar. Didn't ask his name or where he was from. He says to me when Missouri makes that bananas catch, right? That's not even something you see in the old EA Sports video game. And I say, were you a fan of the video game? And he says to me, brother, I had every edition from about 03 on. And I said, have you heard that it's coming back? And he said, oh, yeah. And I said, are you following what's going on? And he said, well, there's this podcast I like. And I said, is it called Dynasty Mode? And he said, no. Yeah, I know.
I know. Man, I was so close to like ejaculating. I was so close. But that's fine.
Yeah, he said no. I said, oh, I know of one called Dynasty Mode, playing it cool, of course. I said, is there another one about the video game podcast? And he said, and I quote, oh, no, it's just a podcast I like that's about college football that said something about it once.
Good. Yep. Because that's what you meant, right? That's what you were meaning.
Right.
Do you listen to other podcasts? That's what I meant. Like,
how do you feel about This American Life?
That's exactly what he was. Man, I like the way that story converged to a whole bunch of like, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Not exactly where I was going, but okay, we're there. We're sharing this experience with you guys as well here on Dynasty Mode. We've got bunches of episodes still to go. I do have a few comments at the end of the show that people have left on the YouTube page, so I do want to get to those at the very end. But I first want to tell you that my first season has come to an end at Georgia State.
Oh dear! And how did we do? Are we in the Cure Bowl?
We
well, I guess if you're Sunbelt in 2014, your only option is New Orleans, or hope that someone else does not fill their bowl allotment.
2013, and we won 4 games.
Okay. So not in a bowl game.
Not in a bowl game, but we did end the season with back-to-back wins. My only issue is that actually, once I get off this meeting with you, I have to go meet with Coach Martindale. He said he wanted to talk after the season. So
sure.
I'm sure that means a promotion of some sort. I mean, it's my first year. I did great.
Well, you were 4-8.
We're 4-8, right? We got 3 of those bad boys in conference, too.
Arky, if this were baseball, you would be an elite hitter.
I would be, and that it actually is on my list of retorts if he wants to fire me or something. Like it's going to come out nicely. We won no games last year. The team before me won no games.
That's right.
This is a precipitous improvement. Anyway, those games are all on YouTube, by the way. You can check them out on the same channel. We just don't talk about them here on the podcast. So I'll let you know what happens on the next edition and, where the journey takes us. Hopefully we stay right in Atlanta and we enjoy, the improvement. Our recruiting's doing pretty well, thanks to, me mainly.
Sure.
So this podcast, I wanted to talk about something that was kind of interesting that, when I was watching the football games this weekend, mainly college, because the pros, So the college game this weekend, I started thinking about how, the players are what we get talked about a lot as far as if they're going to be in the new game and to what degree, how many of them. But we haven't done a ton of talking about the coaches. We briefly mentioned it here or there, but the old game sort of did mimic some of the way the older coaches looked, but obviously you didn't have the names. And I started thinking, like, why wouldn't that be a natural next step to where
Absolutely. And when you say they mimicked some of the ways the coaches looked, I mean, like, I think there were two possibilities, right? Were they old? Well, no, I guess three. Were they old or young? Were they white or black? Because Hispanic does not exist in an EA Sports universe. And were they fat or not?
Well,
And if you match things up just the right way, you could convince yourself that they got the coach right.
Well, you forget when you add like cap or visor.
Oh, sure.
Sweater, vest, or suit.
By the way, what is your go-to coach look?
Well, fat.
Of course.
Like I'm trying to be me.
Yep.
Fat, no glasses, because in the NCAA 14 version, the glasses look terrible on the coach. They just they're distracting. They're distractingly bad looking.
I see.
I try to go with the close crop hair. You only got like 8 different faces to choose from.
It really is bananas how much you can customize the player. But for the coach, it's like, hey, do you want Model A or Model B?
Well, is there a Model C? No, there's not a Model C. What the fuck are you talking about? You get black and fat,
right,
or brown and skinny,
right.
Like can there be in between?
No,
we could have done that. Did you get the Xbox Connect? Maybe you can scan yourself into this. Other than that, you realize what year this is, sir.
That's right.
So we started talking. I started thinking about how like coaches are the next natural progression with this, and we've already talked about team prestige and star ratings and such in this. But while I was thinking about this, you posited an interesting question to me about something I already do every year, which is how I every single year rank every single coach like they were recruits, and I give them star rankings, and I use what they've actually done to be able to rank them as recruits. And I have a couple examples I'll show on here, but I thought this was an interesting idea to sort of posit what could be in the future for this video game using, science that I've already created.
Now, two things I'll say. Number one, this seems to me very in keeping with EA, what we understand to be part of EA's goal, which is to make the game more mirror the way we internally play, right? Like the way we all imagine ourselves to be these coaches climbing the ladders of success in college football. So a rating system attached to the coach beyond just, do you want to be allowed to coach at 4-star programs on day one? That's necessary. The other thing I'll say before we dive in is Arky knows, and I am not, anything I say to Arky about this rating system is something I have said to him in private, not on broadcast. Arky knows I think this rating system is an absolute sham. And there are times that, like, weeks into the season, I will text him and say, this is because of your goddamn ratings.
Well, listen, I will link, by the way, the article for this year's, which also has last year's numbers in it too. If people just want to get an idea of the depth and breadth of it, it really is, and I can't stress this enough, scientifically based.
Sure. Which is like, to Arky's point, this is why we have this conversation every year, is because I often argue that science is evolving, and Arky will shout, but it's not in the Bible, and hang up on me.
Yeah, well, I'll also tell you this, Dimitri, when it comes to science, okay, you can't change it.
Sure.
You can't look at it a different way, and you can't have more than 2 people look at it.
Are you are you giving me the old numbers never lie argument?
I'm not telling you the other side of that line either, so I'm just telling you numbers do not lie. But so in interest of telling you how this works, it's a very simple scientific process that I wanted every coach to be ranked, but you had to figure out a way to do it. And first of all, I thought about doing based on height and weight BMI index. It was going to be tougher for
Mark Mangino's the best coach ever. That's
oh yeah, you don't think I would go? You think I would go low to high? No, I go high to low, baby. By the way, Brett Bielema, way up there at Illinois. But so I wanted to try to figure out something that's fair to these coaches, and I thought that there's 5 different criteria that I think you can tell when a coach has gone from one level to the next. Very simply. And so I will show you based on the 5-star system, which is the smallest number of coaches that are that way. And you'll see no flaws once I bring this up. Exactly what this looks like. And this, by the way, this video is on YouTube if you're listening on the podcast version, so you can see what I'm talking about. But I'm going to bring this up now and show you that what I use is right there in the middle.
I want to sing. I want to sing that old Sesame Street song. One of these things is not like the other, but that is not enough things that are not like the others on this picture.
I do not see why you would think Dabo Swinney doesn't deserve to be a 5-star coach at this point. So, of course, you got my rankings from last year, this year, how much they've changed, the coach, the team, the conference, how many seasons. Okay, but here's where we get to the crux of the matter. The 5 stars that matter to me, I think, make the most sense. Bowl appearances. Did you make a bowl game? Are you making bowl games? Wins in bowl games, because motivation is very different in bowl games. And I think the great coaches get their teams ready to be able to coach in those games.
Okay.
Ready to play in those games. 10-win seasons, because 10-win seasons are different than 8-win seasons. It's just another level playing. Conference championships and national championships. So if you've accomplished all of those at least one time, you're a 5-star coach. Now there is a ranking system. A Nick Saban isn't the same as a Kirby Smart as far as national championship and 5 stars. So one's definitely better than the other in terms of that. But that's kind of how this system works. Again, you can't argue with science.
Okay. You have 6 5-star coaches.
I do.
Okay, hang on before you elaborate. Arky, one of this 5-star coaches, I'm not even before we get into who is employed where. One of the 5-star coaches has a career losing record.
I don't see how that's relevant.
At some point, doesn't the national title, the conference title, especially if there's only one, doesn't some of the luster wear off?
Well, yeah, that's why he is the lowest ranked 5-star coach.
I just tell people who we're talking about that you have listed as having won a national championship and as a 5-star coach.
Scott Frost.
Yes.
Now, that does not disprove anything
Arky,
with this system at all.
What poll officially named Scott Frost? I assume this honor must have happened while he was at Nebraska, right? Because certainly there is nowhere else. Nebraska has national titles in their history.
Yes, it was the one he won at the University of Central Florida.
So only one recognized poll named Central Florida the national champion that year. Do you know which poll that is, Arky?
Mm-hmm.
That is the Nevada Dental Association.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's not about that.
I'm just asking,
let me just tell you this. I'm gonna take this off the screen just for a minute so I can berate you for a moment. The NCAA record books recognize the 2017 UCF Knights as a national champion. They don't do that with everyone. The 2004 Auburn Tigers, by the way, my team, you can see right above my left shoulder, not recognized as a national champion despite going undefeated in the Southeastern Conference and winning their bowl game. But UCF is recognized. Therefore, Scott Frost has himself a national championship.
Okay, so this is important. This was not a joke. The Nevada Dental Association poll is recognized by the NCAA. Arky, sure. I would just like your rating system to go back and acknowledge every Nevada Dental Association national champion coach as a 5-star recruit.
I want you to understand that you are assuming I haven't already accounted for that.
Okay,
in these
fair,
numbers.
fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
So Nick Saban does have a Nevada Dental Association national championship to his credit. Multiple, in fact.
Multiple, yes. Okay, so here is how I would say this then, or I guess my question for you of how it would play into the game, the implementation of this rating system for coaches, and whether or not you use the Arky Shea system, please do not. But if you do some sort of...
I'm sorry, did you just use the acronym ASS?
Arky Shea. Wait, what was it? The Arky Shea system. Sure, the ASS.
That's hurtful for someone who did a lot of work, as you could tell through Excel spreadsheet.
But everybody would know it. Like your pop yard stat.
I want to get into pop yards so bad right now, but we do not have the
Arky,
time.
if
I
there is
invented
anything
a
I've
statistic,
learned,
and it's amazing.
if there's anything I've learned about statistics, is you have to title them like initials on an arcade game.
Yeah, pop, P-O-P, baby.
Pop, right. So ass, tit, fart. Well, no, I guess you can't do fart. Fat. Like you need 3 letters that really grab people's attention, right?
That's good. That's
so
a good point.
ass, I think, makes sense here. Okay, now back to my concern, not concern, but like my question of how you make this work for the video game. What are the things that could knock a 5-star coach down a star? Because we do see that it is possible for you to lose stature in the old games when it comes to the coaching carousel. So I'm going to throw a couple at you, and literally a couple. And I just want to know how this strikes you. So one of the coaches that you have listed as a national champion coach is Mac Brown.
Mm-hmm.
That was 17 years ago.
Sorry, we just don't recognize history in this house.
At some point, like, all right, if you are giving somebody a 5-star coach rating for a national championship 17 years ago, that is like making a high school recruit a 5-star rating because he was the fastest kid in 3rd grade. Like at some point, time's got to lessen this a little bit, right?
Well, he's not the number 1 5-star coach,
but he is a 5-star coach, Arky.
I mean,
and
Scott Frost will not be on this list next year. So there are things.
So that actually is another one, right? So this was the only other one I could think of. What if you have a national championship to your name, but after winning said national championship, you get fired from a future job? That should knock a star off, I think.
I think it should. I think it should. I liken it a lot too, and this is the wrong sport for a moment, but I liken it to Doc Rivers in the NBA,
sure,
where you can only go so many different jobs where you lose your job, or before we start to rub off the gold that's on the ring there a little bit, and see that maybe there's a little plastic underneath.
Listen, I have been saying this for years long before we knew about what Jerry Sandusky was doing. Like, there's no way that Joe Paterno at the end of his tenure at Penn State was an all-time coach.
Well, that's because you don't understand the amount of stars that you get added for child molestation cover.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Cover ups. I didn't say he did anything. I did except for look the other way.
Wow. Allegedly. Okay. Star.
Put it in the game, EA. I'm just saying, just allow for the possibility. I'm not saying you start year 1 as
cowards,
as a program that covers up child molestation in the locker rooms at the stadium. However,
you promised us if it's in the game, it's in the game. Well,
yeah. Well, is it in the game?
Right.
If you don't feature child, okay, I'll move on from that for just a moment. Don't worry, we'll circle back to it. But I do think that because this is a game and not real life,
yes,
it doesn't have to go by science. So I think that there is a way that in the AI, the artificial intelligence, that you should be able to sort of grade on a curve, right?
Okay.
Like, so if you have that opportunity where, if you're at Nevada, right, and you've won 3 out of 4 conference championships or something, you start getting the prestige built up, and that's obviously where bigger schools start to come looking for you. But if you get to a Florida and you aren't as good immediately, which is kind of realistic, like you don't get like 5 years in Florida to do whatever you want to do. But the weird thing is, Dimitri, I think if we're going to adjust it like that, there's going to have to be some adjustments with the game itself, because I don't know how many dynasties you went through in your life. Probably a bunch.
Yeah.
Okay, so you probably didn't go from FIU to, let's say, for instance, Alabama. No connection at all to anybody on this program, either one of those schools. But you didn't go and you didn't start losing. Be fair, right? Did you ever lose again? I mean, you lost games, but did you ever have a losing season?
No.
Did you ever have like a 9-win season versus an 11-win season?
Yeah, I mean, but 9 was probably the floor. I mean, that's fair.
It's so we see in real college football how impossible it is to be really good all the damn time,
Sure.
right? Like it's just Clemson went to the Cheez-It Bowl last year, right? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
that was supposed to be the It dynasty,
Arky,
right?
they
They
woke up
took a
feeling the
dip.
cheesiest.
That's right. Um, Nick Saban did have the 1 year where he won 10 games, right? After
We don't speak of that here.
you don't speak of that Citrus Bowl, and you shouldn't, by the way. You really shouldn't. So like I think as your prestige gets higher and then you get to the top as a coach, I would really think that if we're going to have that possibility to come back down, like it's got to get harder. Like
Oh, I
it's
see. I
got to
see
get
what you're
harder to
saying.
maintain because I've never had an issue where I've gotten up to like 5-star, 6-star, and been able to
Okay.
win at Georgia and like never like I'm always in the championship conversation, always, every single year, and it got boring to me that way.
All right, Arky, I'm glad you brought this up because this is, I think, what just popped into my head. I think is a logical fix, but maybe not. I don't know. If you are not playing on Heisman mode, there's a cap of to how high your star rating can go. Because, like, that's not to say that you could not build, say, Minnesota into a year in, year out, if not national champion, at least Big Ten champion, national competitor. But, if an Alabama opens, if a Georgia opens, if an Ohio State opens, you're not going to be one of the avatars that gets passed over for that job.
Here's my only issue with that is that you and I have a major erection for that
Always.
type of deep. That's right. Keep it going. Shout out Baltimore. What up?
Mm-hmm.
We love how difficult it can be and close to real life that this game should be. But there are people, and there's probably more of them than us, that just want to go like maybe a couple of seasons as the head coach at like
Right.
Texas to get to Alabama, kind of thing. Like they don't want that. But I don't know if EA is willing, and I wish they would be willing to institute some like secondary version of a dynasty. It's like, hey, dynasty for beginners and dynasty for hardos.
Well, I mean, listen, there was always the option to turn the coaching carousel off.
Yeah, there was. But here's the thing. Maybe like you don't want to spend so much time recruiting and but you still want to be able to go through the system and like experience that. And I think that's more of the general fan that buys this game anyway. But I do think like being able to offer an option, or how about this? If it's not a secondary option, maybe it's one of that sweet ass DLC, baby, where you can get an optional $12, whatever it is, setting that's supposed to make it hard as hell like that. So it may be not in the initial game, but you have to ask for it separately. You want it separately. I'm not sure how you do it because, like, I'm with you. Like, those who just want to play the game just to do mascot mode or just to go easy through it, I don't relate. I just don't relate.
Now, let me ask you a question. Josh Gaddis probably is not a great, not a realistic example of this because obviously he is not becoming a head coach based off of what he's doing in Miami. But Pete Golding, since both Clemson coordinators are gone now, you can't really, like, I just don't have a ton of others. But these well-known coordinators, right? Up until Tony Elliott finally took the Virginia job, every time there was a big job open, Tony Elliott's name was kicked around as a possibility. Brent Venables' name was kicked around as a possibility. Kirby, I think, was attached to every SEC job opening before he finally went to Georgia. What is the highest this game should let you climb as a coordinator? Because we did see a coordinator. We've seen several times a coordinator waltz right in to a 5-star, 6-star level job. I mean, Kirby to Georgia, I just mentioned. Will Muschamp to Florida was a coordinator before he landed that job. It is not absurd to see that happen.
No, but like for example, my 1 year at Georgia State, there's no way in hell like if Coach Martindale, fingers crossed, doesn't want to fire me, but like if
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that job anymore, there's no way in hell that like Florida's coming asking for me, right? Because of 1 year
I don't
at
know.
Georgia
I've heard
State.
good things.
Well, I appreciate it.
You're a
Our offense
charmer. You know how to
point
work the money, people.
points per game, we're only 117th out of 126. It's
Sure.
not bad. It's not bad, but 4 wins, right? 4 out of 8. Anyway,
Yeah.
so but I think that would be like if you chose to be a long-term coordinator, like you have to be 10 seasons, not
Yeah.
necessarily at a place, but like as a coordinator somewhere, right? Like if you like, you'd have to be long-term to be able to get into that. And I think that would be one of those AI ones and zeros that could be turned on or off and just say, all right, that's 10 seasons or 12 seasons or whatever. Now, if Oklahoma comes open, we can look at Brent Venables or Dimitri Urbanis.
Yes.
And we can
We're
say,
often
all right,
mistaken for one another.
we can finally look at him. But I think that's what's so fascinating about looking at these, what we should do with the coaches, but also like figuring out the coach prestige. You don't like necessarily where I put like some of these coaches based on the merits, but let me just ask you, if we're picking the game up and we're saying,
Mm-hmm.
all right, how do we rate these coaches? We know like a handful, no doubts, that are like the elite of the elites. And we
Yeah.
know some of the ones that are like nothings because they haven't done anything yet. But like, where do you start differentiating? Do you, I mean, I feel like I have a good baseline as far as like conference championships and division titles and stuff like that, as far as stuff to consider.
I think you do have a good baseline. I think that for the purposes of the game, right? Like if this star rating as it relates to the game is going to be entirely about how you are situated in the coaching carousel mode.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the purposes of that, if you are looking at actual coaches right now to start the game, I do think some accomplishments have to dull over time. Right. Again, I'll go back to the example of Joe Paterno. There were plenty of open jobs from like 1995 on. Nobody was calling Joe Paterno to see if he wanted those jobs. So I think things dull over time. I also think, and this kind of gets into something else you and I have talked about, should be included in this game to give us a more full dynasty mode experience. I do want some sort of story element. I think there is a big difference between I'm sorry, not big difference. I think there is a I think there is a formula, or there is a path you can see to why you might have Dan Mullen as a 3-star coach, right? X and O's, definitely a 4-star, maybe even a 5-star guy, but he cannot keep money people happy. He cannot prioritize the things that go on off the field that a coach should be prioritizing. So I do think if you included some sort of story mode, whether it is how you deal with boosters, whether it is what your recruiting prowess is, those things should matter because they are the things, or they are some things that in the history of this game have been considered in terms of your goals as a coach when you take a new job.
Sure, absolutely. You could always look at your conference or your team outlook over the next 4 years or something, and they would have a projected ranking of what they think you would be. I would always find like early on it'd be like 107, 91, 80, 114. And you're like, I guess you think I have everybody here that I'm going to possibly have to be able to make
my
whatever I want
favorites
them to
are the ones that are like 32, 19, 11, 138.
I think it would be a lot of fun to pay attention to a lot of this for the coaches, because I would be surprised. The college football revamped has the coaches in there, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, they're not animated to look like them, right? Like It's just too much for the back end to be able to do. But you do have their statistics, their win-loss record, so on
Yeah.
and so forth, where they're at. By the way, real quick before we get to our comments, I think we should consider having coaches that aren't currently coaches when the game happens to still be a part of the game that can come in the coaching carousel and be like,
Arky,
hey, Urban Meyer, you're not currently a coach, but
look,
somebody might want you.
Look, EA has a long history of this. Madden starts every season with a bunch of free agents. Do you remember like the people that lost their mind, positive or negative? Was it 3 years ago that Kaepernick was back in Madden? I mean, can you imagine? And also imagine what it would do to and I don't mean a story mode, but imagine what it would do for the I guess story-ish nature of the hot seat rankings, which have been it or how hot your seat is year in and year out in that game if somebody like an Urban Meyer is listed as a free agent, or B, there's a free agent out there that happens to be an alum of the school you're at.
Yeah, I think unless we make it harder to win once you get to the high levels, like it's just going to be like interesting from afar. It's just going to be like, oh look, Ohio State went back to.
It's going to be a fun idea more than it's going to be a great. No, I understand that.
I would love a threat to lose my job just because someone's like, hey, listen, Arky's won 2 national championships in 3 years. But Terry Bowden is waiting in the wings,
right,
and he would gladly take this call.
Yeah, he beat ULL last week.
That's right. He would say, bye-bye, Warhawks. Hello, War Eagles. Hey, before we get to our last few comments from the night, I just want to remind you that this episode, final week, baby, Manscaped. Y'all, I'm telling you this. If you don't go to manscaped.com and use the promo code Dynasty Mode, all one word, you just don't like us. And
wow,
that's a disappointing thing to hear, because I know you need to take care of your nutsack with the hair. Okay, I know. I, as someone with a nutsack with hair, understand that needs to be taken care of. And if you don't want to go get the Power Trimmer 4.0, I don't know. I don't know. Performance Package 4.0 with the Dimitri, if you don't go get the Lawnmower 4.0 right now,
you're just a piece of shit.
I really am going to question this relationship we have going on. Okay.
Yeah.
You as the listener and the viewer, and me as someone who really would like to continue making money in this podcast, that's the relationship I'm worried about. Okay. So please go patronize this place. Please go to manscaped.com. Go take care of your twig and berries. Okay, it's fine. There's no shame up in it. It comes in a really cool package, literally a package for your package.
It's really cool.
It is. You open it up. It's got wordings in there. It's got stuff. You got your ball deodorant, which is necessary in 2022. Are you trying to get with these women's with that ball deodorant? Well, you paid into one. All right, you're leasing one right now. That's fair. It's different. It's a whole different thing.
By the way, my vacation club points.
That's right. Dimitri, you get it. So go to manscaped.com, go get the Performance Package 4.0, and go take care of them digits to take care of us too. Or else we won't have a podcast next week. There's a good chance of that. I'm just saying. They have started to really hammer down on us that they may take all creative freedom from us. And that's something I don't want. So manscaped.com, avoid losing this podcast. Use the promo code Dynasty Mode, all one word, 20% off and free shipping.
Manscaped. Yep. Your nards should be nude.
I like it. Not even trimmed, just nude. Go straight forward. What do you need that hair for? What are you in the woods?
What are you, selfish?
Yeah. What are we trying to protect it from?
There's starving children in third world countries that don't have hair on their nutsacks.
No, and they need yours. So go to manscaped.com, promo code
and finish your goddamn dinner.
All right, Dimitri, let's wrap it up with a few comments from the YouTube page. This comes from Tomps07. Like you, I am an older gamer turning 40 soon. You will come around in buying the digital copy. You can pre-download, so when the game drops, you can play right away at game drop. saving you the trip to the store and the time to download it, since the physical is just a key code to download the game anyway. This, of course, reference to me figuring out if I really want the physical copy of it.
He's right, Arky.
But if I pre-buy the download, right?
Yeah.
And I go to like a GameStop and say, "Hey, I pre-bought the game. Give me the cover." Like, I'm
not even the whole game. Just fish one out of the sleeve there.
just, I want the plastic too. I want the plastic box too. You can keep the key. Right. I get the key's going to be for something else, but I need the cover.
Right.
You think I'm going to be able to do that?
Probably not.
Okay. This from Brian.
Maybe at Walmart.
Who said, "Awesome interview, guys." That's referencing our last podcast with Chris Vanini. I'm curious what the people being spoken to mean by, quote, "It's not a Madden reskin." Like, what does that mean exactly? They mentioned they could have the game out now if it were a reskin, but I'm not sure how that would be possible since they do not have all the music or NIL info. I think as a consumer, when I hear reskin, I don't want the exact same gameplay on the field as Madden, so I'm wondering how the college football team is interpreting reskin when they're asked by reporters. Thanks, Bryant, for also setting a world record for using the word reskin in one comment on YouTube.
And the fact that we were just talking about penises makes this have a very strange connotation. I mean, look, it's a good question, right? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if it's not just a reskin, but it's using the Madden gameplay engine, like, what is the difference? Like, how would you explain it to dum-dums like us what the difference is exactly? I'm guessing it's as simple as, some of the stuff, that Chris talked about in the past, that the college players were a little bit smaller. Things moved a little bit faster in the college game. Maybe, Arky, and I could be wrong about this, but maybe the fact that specific playbooks go in keep it from being considered just a reskin.
Dude, I get myself a Coastal Carolina playbook, which is basically everybody else's playbook combined. Fucking in. Last comment comes from IE Big Cat. Would like to see fun thing like back in the day, codes for large helmets, large feet, or slow motion hyper fast. Boy, can you imagine? To get the big old helmets on these guys and get running around the field. I also would love to see mascot mode just to maybe get young children hooked. And yes, I would pay more for packages of historic teams, playoff series, team off-season training, etc. Most likely my favorite game series of all time because of the RPG-like things in it, recruiting, off-season changes, all the trophies and other awards. Can't wait to get my hands on physical copies for both systems. And if there is any cover variant, okay. I feel like a young kid waiting for Christmas, knowing my parents just won the lottery. LOL. Keep up the fun podcast, guys. Take care.
Oh, your parents are disappearing, kid.
Oh man, I'll just say this: if we could get codes back for like large feet, for like if there's just a cartoon. Okay, I told you like I wanted to be super serious, but there's just a cartoon version I can get with like codes that I can up, down, right, triangle, square. Select. Like I'm okay for those Easter eggs too. I'll play around.
Listen, I appreciate your patronage, i.e. Big Cat.
Oh, no.
That is a dumb idea.
That is not. Dimitri, I'm against you, i.e. Big Cat. I'm with you. You look into this camera right now? I am with
Isaac
you.
Edward Big Cat. You listen to me, sir. How can you like the RPG elements of a sports video game? Which I agree. I totally agree with that. The chance it gives you, or the opportunities to get lost in this game, are what make it special. Now I would like everyone to have bobbleheads and clown feet.
Oh, like, well, that's just if you want to play like at 3 a.m. and like you can't get to sleep and you just want to be goofy. Like it doesn't have to be that serious. Come on,
I don't care for it one bit.
All right, well, go check out my science version in the link here of what we're going to do with this game in the future, as well as the coaches' prestige rankings, as if they were recruits. All right, that's going to do it for us. This podcast is OVAH. It is OVA. I think I just hooked them down. Sorry about that.
Nope, that's okay. They deserved it.
Sorry, saw them off, brother. Gig 'em Aggies, all that stuff. Dimitri, until no Colts in football. There are no Colts in football. Dimitri, until we're done, say goodbye to the good people.
Save and sim to next week, everybody.